Imagine school disappearing forever. At 8 years old, you celebrate until an adult hands you a bucket and points toward a field. That is your classroom now. For most children in history, learning was not built around desks, homework, or people their own age. It was built around food, work, danger, family, and becoming useful fast. Some parts were surprisingly free. Most parts were much harder. Schools are ancient. Temple schools, palace schools, religious classrooms, tutors, and local teachers existed thousands of years ago. The difference was access. Formal lessons often served wealthy families, future officials, selected boys, or children preparing for religious life. Your chances depended on where you were born, your gender, your social position, and whether anyone nearby had time to teach you. So this is not a world without schools. It is a world before school became the center of nearly every child's day. Most learning happened wherever life happened. You watched an older person try the task, failed, and tried again. You learned to carry water without spilling it, light a fire, recognize useful plants, care for animals, preserve food, repair clothing, and notice when bad weather was coming. Stories carried history. Songs preserved instructions. Proverbs explained how the community expected you to behave. Nobody gave you a worksheet called Essential Survival Skills. The test was whether the roof leaked, the goat escaped, or dinner reached the table. It was practical education with extremely real grades. Young children could gather sticks, scare birds from crops, carry messages, feed chickens, watch babies, or help prepare food. As they became stronger, their jobs became heavier. In towns, children worked in shops and workshops. Some became servants. Others entered apprenticeships and learned weaving, baking, metalworking, tailoring, or carpentry. An apprenticeship could provide valuable skills and a future livelihood. It could also mean strict rules, long hours, and almost no control over your day. Instead of asking what you wanted to become, adults often answer the question for you. Some children did study books. A wealthy child might have a tutor. A future clerk could practice reading, writing, mathematics, and record keeping. Religious institutions taught selected children prayers, music, languages, and sacred texts. But books were expensive in many places. A teacher might own the only one. Students copied onto wax tablets, wooden boards, scraps, or whatever material was available. Memorization mattered because you could not assume a reference book waited at home. Education opened doors, but those doors were narrow and guarded. Children were not tiny adults every second of the day. They played with dolls, toy animals, tops, balls, hoops, miniature dishes, and small figures made from cloth, wood, clay, or bone. They also raced, wrestled, climbed, sang, chased one another, and transformed ordinary objects into imaginary worlds. Play often copied adult life, so a miniature kitchen, cart, soldier, or tool could be entertainment and practice at the same time. The human instinct to declare, "This stick is now a sword," is apparently very old. The freedom to wander came with risks modern adults would find terrifying. Children worked near fires, animals, deep water, sharp tools, roads, and heavy equipment. A small cut could become infected. Illnesses now prevented or treated could spread quickly. Food shortages hit growing children especially hard. Adults were busy producing food or earning a living, so one older child might supervise several younger ones. Discipline could also be physically harsh. Childhood included affection, family, jokes, and play, but it existed in a world with fewer safety nets and very little room for error. Education usually prepared you for the future your family already expected. A farmer's child learned farming. A craft worker's child learned the craft. A merchant family taught counting and trade. Household skills passed from one generation to the next through daily practice. Gender and social class shaped opportunity, although the rules differed across cultures. Some girls received advanced education, and many boys received none. Broad freedom to choose a completely different life was unusual. Talent mattered. Luck mattered more. Being born beside the right workshop, teacher, library, or powerful household could change everything. Without a standardized curriculum, knowledge lived inside people. Parents taught tasks. Grandparents carried stories. Neighbors corrected behavior. Religious leaders explained beliefs and rituals. Skilled workers demonstrated techniques. Older children passed games, warnings, jokes, and shortcuts to younger ones. Education was intensely local. You might know every useful plant nearby, every path through a forest, and exactly how the river behaved, while knowing almost nothing about a place 50 miles away. That knowledge was personal but fragile. If an expert died or moved away, part of the community's library disappeared with them. Over time, printing made books easier to produce. Governments needed literate officials. Religious movements promoted reading. Industrial societies demanded new skills. Reformers argued that children deserved education and protection from exhausting labor. The timing and motives varied widely, but compulsory laws and public systems eventually made attendance far more common. Access still remained unequal, and many children were excluded or segregated. The school day did more than teach reading and mathematics. It reorganized childhood around age groups, schedules, bells, subjects, and the idea that learning deserved protected time. Was childhood better before school became normal? Hands-on learning, mixed generations, and knowledge tied directly to daily life all had value. But that freedom came with hard labor, danger, unequal access to knowledge, limited choices, and a future often decided at birth. Children were never less intelligent or curious. They simply learned inside a different system, one built around survival, work, family, and community. So the next time homework feels unbearable, remember the historical alternative. You could close the book, but somebody would probably hand you a shovel.